This is great. This is more interesting than the whole fucking rest of the goddamn podcast is going to be.
Also, this is golden material for the cold open. Welcome to Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts, a Simpsons review podcast. I'm your lovable nerd, Snerts, aka Joshua Stearns, and joining me is the equally delightful Robin. Don't have a cow, coward!
Heyo! What is happening, Josh?
Another lovely day with another lovely man talking about another lovely show.
Absolutely.
And as the kids may say, or maybe they don't, I don't know, I'm old. We got a couple of bangers.
Bangers. Absolute top shelf.
And I'm going to confess to you, it's time for Snerts' confession. I was really jealous that you picked your episode.
It is exceptionally good episode, one that I've always remembered since the day it aired.
So just keep that in mind, folks. If Snerts is extra wordy and talking over Robin even more than he usually does, it's because I love the episode. And I'm not going to tell you what that episode is because this may be your first episode of Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts. So let me tell you how it works. I pick an episode of The Simpsons. Robin picks an episode of The Simpsons. And then we talk. It's that simple. So without further ado, let's jump into our first Simpsons episode. Robin, what did you bring us today?
Well, it's a real treat, Josh. I'm not going to lie to you. We are going to be talking about season 8 performance called You Only Move Twice.
Nice little Bond theme there. And yeah, that is season 8, episode 2 with an original air date of 11/3/1996. This was directed by Mike B. Anderson and written by my favorite Simpsons writer, John Swartzwelder. I also find it interesting that he's my favorite Simpsons writer, yet I have yet to pick one of his episodes, and here we are with 2 of his episodes. Thank God he did 59.
Yeah, did he do 59? That's right, we talked about it.
So I have 57 other episodes I can pick from, but my lord, man, you picked, You Only Move Twice, maybe in the running for my favorite Simpsons episode ever. I always I don't like to have a definitive list because it changes depending on how old I am or how I'm feeling at the moment. But Lemon of Troy, little slippy. You Only Move Twice.
A little slippy today.
You Only Move Twice is always in the top 5. And I've watched this episode so much that my DVD set is literally falling apart. I opened it up and 4 discs went flying out because the glue has gotten bad that held all the little individual like DVD holders together. So why did you pick You Only Move Twice?
Well, it's one that I always remembered because of the main character, outside of our family and friends in Springfield, is unbelievable in this. And going through this, one thing that stuck out is Albert Brooks plays the antagonist in this one, the kind of purpose of the episode, the character.
Yeah, he's our main guest star.
Yes, thank you. He and Dan Castellaneta in this show are just absolutely brilliant together and hilarious.
And so for the folks at home, a little peek behind the curtain. Robin unfortunately couldn't get the DVD commentary watching in time for the recording today, but that's okay. I am here to fill in. And this one was particularly fun for You Only Move Twice because we have Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein, who are 2 of my favorite Simpsons people ever. And we also get a voice actor. And as I mentioned before, anytime one of the voice actors shows up, it's great. And we get Dan Castellaneta, who's the voice of Homer, a bunch of other people. And he plays a prominent role in this episode because the star of the show is Homer Simpson. And
absolutely
about his journey and his story, and everything else is just kind of like filler or side pieces.
And I want to put, kind of like pin that. That's a terrible phrase. I don't use phrases like that. I want to, say about that. I am somebody who really loved this show when Homer became the focus, and it was kind of a big deal.
Same here.
Went from Bart being the focus and the kids to Homer being the center of the show. And this is a great, absolutely brilliant Homer episode. So you only move twice is going to start us out uh, with Mr. Smithers coming out of his house,
I
locks his
work for
door.
Monty Burns. I work for Monty
Monty
Burns.
Burns. He's so happy. He's just so excited to go into work that morning. And a big limousine pulls up. And a woman rolls out the window and says, can we offer you a ride? And he says, no, thank you. And she says, we're from Globex Corp, who's going to be a big player in this whole episode. We would like to offer you a position in our nuclear division. Not interested. We can offer you an impressive salary and benefits for you and your partner.
I love how Smither retorts. He goes, "What's wrong with this country? Can't a man walk down the street without being offered a job?"
It's perfect.
And that works in whatever economy, however this good this country is doing. I don't know about you, Robin, but I've never been offered a job while walking down the street,
Nope. They're like thrown at you out of cars
especially
here.
one with health benefits for me and my life partner.
The health minister from you and your life partner. He's so mad
Yeah.
about, trying to be tempted
Well,
away from
because he
Mr.
is a
Burns.
Burns sexual, so he has dedicated loyalty to Mr. Burns, and anybody trying to threaten that loyalty gets on his bad side rather quickly.
Josh, it's an odd kink. Like, it is a very specific kink that they
Yeah.
portray here.
Yep.
And that's very interesting.
Yeah. So
So,
I also love how on the DVD. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead here. So we get to our next senior man at the plant, and it does crack me up.
exactly. They're like,
that
we'll just go with the next more senior man.
And it's Homer, which is so weird to me because that just shows how terrible of a
We
place it is to work at. Like, it's not Lenny, it's not Carl.
No, don't you
Homer
remember?
shows
We
up.
actually heard the line
Right.
in Homer's Enemy where he
Correct.
said he showed up day one. He's
Yeah.
been there as long as anybody.
Yeah. I didn't even know what a nuclear power plant was or painter plant. Haha.
Penner plant.
Now I'm rehashing stuff that we've already covered.
Throwback. And so it cuts immediately to home, and of course they're offering Homer the job. He's like, "Woohoo! I got a new job!" And Marge is like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And
But what's the
uh,
caveat for him having to get the new job is that he's going to have to move to Cypress Creek. And at this point in the DVD commentary, they had a couple fun things. Josh mentioned that the inspiration beyond Bond was Homer getting a modern boss like Steve Jobs, which again
very
dates
much
these
so.
commentaries because Steve Jobs, may he rest in power, is long gone. I also had a moment that if you would have heard this, Robin, you would have been laughing your ass off. The rest of the commentators made Josh explain who James Bond was because he thought he was too old, too out of style. And so like I should have looked this up, but wasn't the Pierce Brosnan like Bonds going strong by this point? Didn't we
Yeah, it
have,
definitely was. That
so
was
I
the
don't
height of that time.
right.
Absolutely.
GoldenEye was like the N64 game that everyone was playing in addition to a great
What was
movie.
the one before that's like you only I don't know, I
I
can't
think that
remember
was the
something about
Timothy
yesterday.
Dalton
Something about
ones.
yesterday, and
Oh,
it is the
Tomorrow
single
Never
worst film
Dies.
ever made.
Okay, yeah. Well, so I just kind of was kind of funny because now we have like Daniel Craig's Bond. Like, Bond is like an ever growing franchise. It's never
Are
really
you
gone
a
out of
Bond
fashion.
fan? Like, do you
Oh,
know like the
100%.
early ones?
100%. So I am a fan of growing up.
Hell
My
yeah,
dad loved Bond, and my
yes.
father would talk about Grandpa taking him to the movies to go watch James Bond. And I remember sitting with my family. Now I'm a little bit more nostalgic about my father because of his recent passing, but mom was
Yeah.
there too, so I don't want to cut her out. But we would sit down during TNT's Bond marathon takeover, and we would watch
Mm-hmm.
episode after or movie after movie after movie. I love the campiness of Bond. I love all the gadgets and Q. It is a fantastic franchise, and I love how corny it can be, but also kick ass, high tech action spy thriller.
My dad was also a Bond fan, but my sister and I were the massive Bond fans. My brother as well is pretty big, and we shared that, and it was a big part of my. We listened to all the music, and know all the movies, verbatim. But so yes, so the scenario is that they've offered Homer a lot more money and better benefits for him and his life partner, and they're
Nice
gonna
callback.
pay for the move, and give them a nice house and all of this. And Marge says, you wouldn't take a job in another town without discussing it with us first. And he goes, of course I wouldn't. Why not? I don't do that great justice, but Dan Castellaneta there is just brilliant acting on that.
Yeah, and I
It's
love how
hilarious.
Marge goes through. She's like, "We have friends, roots, and library cards. Bart's lawyer is here."
Bart's lawyer is here. One of my favorite lines of the whole thing. But Marge is reluctant. Like he's pushing for it, and Marge is reluctant, and she has a line I think that you really enjoyed in that one.
Oh yeah,
Is I've dug myself into a happy little rut, and I don't want to have to hoist myself out of it.
and then I love it because I can totally relate to Marge because
Yeah.
many times in my life, probably right now, I am in a happy little rut. And I've been in the same apartment for 11 years. I've been at the same job for 9 years. Like I love my rut. But then Homer has a great retort where he goes, "Just bring the rut with you, honey." Like super positive.
Exactly.
Like we said before, like when Homer gets into something, he goes in like 100%. There's no half-assing it if he's excited about it. Um,
And he's pushing it here, and he jumps into this. He has this promotional video cassette for
yeah,
uh, our Cypress Creek town, and this is a brilliant scene, Josh. I think you'd agree.
absolutely.
Of the video is just hilarious. I love that it's also a video cassette. Did you catch that?
Oh yeah,
He puts it to a
VHS tape
VCR. It's
shows.
like
Yeah,
1996 still.
come to this high tech new state of the art global campus right at Cypress
Uh-huh.
Creek, and we're gonna have a promo VHS tape for you. Which
He's called Cypress Creek, A Tale of One City.
yeah.
So
I also love the
it
visual gag of a homeless person being replaced with a mailbox. And I was just thinking to myself, like, maybe that's a solution we need in California to stop with our homeless problem. I didn't think about this before, but if we just replace the homeless people with mailboxes, they'd be gone.
now that we found magic.
Yeah.
So it's great. Beyond that, they turn every literal decrepit store in the town's kind of broken down into a coffee shop. It's making fun, poking fun at some towns in
It's
America
definitely
specifically.
gentrification.
And after this, Marge is like, I don't know, and all the kids are now behind it. Um, One line from that video, though, Josh,
Yeah.
was at the end. It says, "Come to Cypress Creek, where all your dreams will come true." Disclaimer: Your dreams may vary from that of the Globex Corporation.
Excellent.
So they talk Marge into it, and she's now agreed that they're going to live. So they've decided to sell their house, and they're going to take the job, and they're going to go live in Cedar Creek.
Yeah, I also love too how as she was thinking about joining or agreeing to the move, I should say, we get a nice visual sound gag of the chimney falling off of the
Exactly,
house.
it's
And
exactly it.
so
Because
there's a
like this
couple of
place is
running
crap,
bits where they just show how dilapidated the Simpsons house is. Which
and Bart fell through the roof.
yes,
His
and they
little
push
feet
him
are
up with
dangling.
like a broom or something like that.
To push it back up.
It was a very fun visual gag. So they try to sell the house, and one of the things that tripped me out, I don't know if you noticed this or not, they don't even bother getting a real estate agent.
No, they're just like having people
They're
over.
just trying to sell the house. So they have Otto come in, and he's like, "Whoa, windows! I don't think I can afford this place."
We have a poo come. He's like, I don't actually want to buy it. I'm just going to use your restroom and flip through your magazines and rearrange your carefully arranged shelves and handle food products with unsanitary way. Ha! How do you like it?
And that to me was like something where Apu really felt good, but like I think the Simpsons were like, oh, "Okay."
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where like you think you're having this high and mighty moment where you're showing somebody what for, and then like you do not get the reaction that you were hoping for from the person that you're trying to one up or whatever.
I think it was entirely for himself, that whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, so they're gonna say decide, they have a moment of epiphany. They're like, nobody's gonna pay for this, and we're gonna be underground with our mortgage. So it's not gonna do any good anyway. And they both look at each other and they have this epiphany. They're like, unless, and they abandon the house.
yeah. So they nail onto the front door a piece of wood that just says "abandoned" over it, and they pack up the little tugger or chugger or whatever it's called. And
I
and
love the little tugger. Yeah.
Yeah, little tugger. Thank you. And then of course we get Ned Flanders coming to confront Homer because as we all know as big Simpsons fans, that Homer is always borrowing stuff for Ned Flanders. And there's this great bit where Ned is like, "Hey, are you going to return everything?" And like he's kind of like moving his head left and right and trying to like look behind Homer, but Homer keeps blocking him. And he mentions a number of things that if you're going to return them. And the thing that made me laugh was the downstairs
The
tub.
downstairs
They had, and
bathtub,
then right behind in the little tugger is the downstairs tub.
like a
Uh,
giant like clawfoot tub.
yeah, yeah, and what does Homer do to get Flanders off of his back?
Well, he goes, are you going to need those things in Cypress Creek? And Homer's like, yes. And Flanders is kind of downtrodden. And he
And then
goes,
Homer
oh,
go,
and Homer goes, Oakley dokily.
"Oakley dokley doo," and it totally works because it just triggers Flandersism, and
Oakley dokily.
and that made me laugh so hard because you could just kind of get out of anything. It's like, I'm gonna steal your car. Nah, I don't think you should do that, neighbor. Oakley dokley doo. Like I just imagine it being used for all sorts of things.
That's my wife. Not anymore. Oakley dokily.
Yeah.
So then, Josh, they have decided they're going to abandon the house. They're packed up and they're leaving Springfield. We get this great scene of their goodbye. And I don't know what it was with this episode, but they decided to put pretty much every side character, I'd say 80% of all of the ones you've ever seen in
Yeah.
this one goodbye montage where everybody does their kind of trademark goodbye.
It's
Bye,
kind of
everybody.
it's kind of reminiscent of the intro, with the
Yeah.
song and everything like that, where Bart is skating around and then they kind of blur past all the side characters real quick. But instead of
Hmm.
them not having any voices, they do all the stereotypical, like "Hey, hey, see you later" type of deals.
You get the Bumblebee Man.
Yeah,
That's a
adios.
special
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
character in this series.
and
So one of the other one I love is they've left town and Homer's like, oh, I'm gonna miss Springfield. This town has been awful good to us. And Bart's like, no, it wasn't. That's why we were leaving. And Homer goes, oh yeah, so long, Stink Town.
Bye, diddly eye. So long.
God bless you.
See ya. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, Homer.
Take care.
Adios.
So long.
Very well.
Yar, bon voyage. Toodle oo.
So long.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Sayonara, dude.
So long.
yeah, and at this point in the DVD commentary, because we see them transfer over to Cypress Creek, they were praising all the artists because this was one of those episodes where they had to draw a lot of new things because they're in a brand new town. So they had to design Cypress Creek, they had to design
Yep,
Globex Corporation and the new
it's
house and
so
all
well
this other
done.
stuff versus having to just kind of reuse already existing assets that they would have in Springfield.
The
So
town in
lot
this,
of
Josh, is a character.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Springfield is a character in The Simpsons.
So they are heading upstate. So here's one interesting thing is they're heading upstate and they end up in a redwood forest driving to
Yep.
Cypress Creek. Uh, I only know redwoods in one state. Well, no, two states. So they're either in California or Oregon. This has been a debate for a long time because they never established where the hell Springfield is in America, but
Okay,
this is
so
a big.
I have some background info on that.
Oh, do
Matt
you?
Groening grew up in Oregon. So
Okay.
and I forget which small town it is. For some reason I want to say Bend, but I have a feeling that's wrong.
Okay.
His general inspiration was from his upbringing. Same thing with like the names of the Simpsons family are names from his family members.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, a lot of this stuff is kind of personal for him. Now, that said, it's not an official copy, it's just an inspiration. And in the DVD commentary for Cypress Creek specifically, they said they wanted to mirror a Silicon Valley town.
Okay.
So it's not quite Humboldt, where my parents retired, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a smaller community that was more focused on logging back in the day and fishing. And it's very small, usually like less than 30,000 people in one of these towns. And the biggest one is probably Eureka, if people are familiar with the area.
He's
So I
from
did,
Oregon, by the way.
yes, he
I mean,
is.
he's from Portland, is what I meant to say.
Oh, he's from Portland.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So that was kind of the the background that Matt was inspired by. But once Matt created a lot of this stuff initially, but then once everybody else starts working on it, it takes a life of its own. And you're absolutely right that Springfield has been very nebulous. It's always the running joke, like Springfield, what state? That kind of stuff.
They do call it back. I just did visceral
Yeah.
memory when you said that. Both you and I have visited the redwoods all through that area, and
Yes. Yes.
they're absolutely gorgeous, and that really is conveyed in the drawing that they do here. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And not only are the redwoods beautiful, but these homes, man, are amazing, including the Simpsons house. Like it is fully furnished. It's so much nicer than their old dump, especially the dilapidation jokes.
So much nicer. It is 15201 Maple Systems Road, and it's fully automated. I
Yep.
mean, down to the baby. This becomes a problem in this episode, of course.
Right. And
In
I also love how immediately, as soon as they get into the home, there's a little knock, knock, knock at the door, and we're introduced to.
Scorpio,
There you go.
Hank Scorpio. Don't call me Scorpio. Don't call me boss. Call me Hank, or just call me.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic character. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy runs this episode, and it's one of the best episodes of all time.
Yes, that's one of the reasons it's my favorite is because Albert Brooks, and they mentioned this in the commentary that it's so much fun working with him because he'll come in with the script that they provided him with so many notes, just packed full, like post-it notes, little marks here and there. And as we'll see, like a lot of the reactions that Homer has to Hank is naturally Dan reacting to Albert in the booth because he was ad-libbing so much, and Dan was just kind of like, okay.
The two of them together in this, the interplay is the entire episode.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is our first introduction to Hank Scorpio, and he knocks on their door. And he's got like a gift basket, and he's like, "I'm here on behalf of the Globex Corporation, my company." And you start to get this feel for this guy, very Steve Jobs. He's just very high energy. And Homer's like, "Wow, my boss," and he's like, "Don't call me that word. I don't like things that elevate me above other people. I'm just like you. Oh, sure, I come in later in the day, I get paid a lot more, and I take longer vacations, but I don't like the word boss."
I
That's
also
my
like
best.
how
Is
you have
that
like
pretty good?
the moccasins, and it's like, do you like the moccasins? You got a pair in your closet. You don't like them? Throw. You ever seen anybody throw away a shoe before? Yeah, well, once. And it's
The
just
way the
like you were
way
saying, like it's
Dan says that is amazing, right
yeah,
there.
it's just like boom,
Well,
boom,
yes,
boom,
one. It's
joke, joke,
perfect.
joke, joke, joke. It's so good, so good.
That one in particular, I was a former actor, and so I was trying to do it myself. I was trying to recreate it, and it was very hard to do the way he did. It was phenomenal. That scene is hilarious. It's one of the great ones in this whole show. It is him coming up, high energy, going, "Hey, here's you're here. Glad you're here. We're so happy to have you," and runs off into the fun run. And he's just such a good guy. He's smart and inviting, and uh, just absolutely insanely active,
Yeah, yeah,
high energy.
yeah, but not in like a cocaine way. Just like a natural high energy. He's
Yeah,
just like one of those people who are just way more
he gets
energetic,
up
way
at
more into
4:30
things,
every
super
morning. He's
passionate
already
about everything
run.
that they're doing.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy.
I get you. And so that's our introduction to Scorpio, and everybody is, of course, like just blown away because has so much charisma. And uh, now they've kind of settled in, and we have the first scene, what I call Marge's descent. And we start to see some of the cracks in the facade this early on, because she's looking around the house and everything's taken care of. The dishes wash themselves, and you know the whole house is automated, so she didn't even have to clean the floors. The vacuum bot does it.
AI is truly taken over in 1996.
It's 1996. It was the damn what was the floor vacuum
Oh,
little
the
bot
Roomba.
called? Yeah, was that around in 96?
I don't
I
know
wonder.
because I didn't start working at Limbs and Things until like the early 2000s, and I know we had one in there. Fun little bit. You're supposed to put a sensor out there so it doesn't go past the sensor. Well, I don't know if the sensor ran out of battery or it just didn't catch it. So our Roomba decided to go out into the parking lot and got ran over by a truck. It We were laughing
Did you have a
so goddamn
burial?
hard. Huh?
Did you have a burial for
No,
it?
I had to make a loss prevention or whatever ticket, right, and throw it in the back. And the person who ran it over was not happy. Like their truck was fine. There was nothing wrong with the truck, but it scared them, and that wasn't cool.
Yeah, I
Now,
would agree with that.
with Marge finishing all her housework by 9:30, my first thought was time to play some video games. And then my second
It's a little
thought,
too close to home, Josh. A little too
right?
close to
And then
home.
my second thought with Maggie on the Swing-O-Matic, my
Uh-huh.
mom got me one of those because those were big in the 80s.
We all had those.
But apparently I hated it, and I would
Oh yeah.
scream every time I was put into it. So I definitely relate to Maggie, who's desperately like trying to reach for the
Just
stop button, but like because her hands are up, kind of like if you're on a roller coaster. Marge is like, "Oh, she's fine."
she's like desperate for it. Her expressions are amazing. She conveys so much. I love me some Maggie.
Yeah, yeah,
So so we go down to we're gonna actually see the company Globex.
yes,
Globex. And Hank is walking Homer around the place and like introducing him to people. And he's very Apple. It's very much like the
yeah.
Apple headquarters, you know.
Yep, and that's what they were talking about in the commentary as well. It's an open office plan. They're trying to make it modern. There's a fun bit where they're walking in place,
Oh, treadmill.
on a treadmill, and then they stand onto a people mover. So that's a very fun visual gag where they're walking and not moving anywhere, and then they stop walking and then they start moving.
The whole scene is absolutely hilarious. He's like showing him, he's like, "Here, hang up my coat," and Homer's trying, but there's a circular room and there's like glass walls. And so he's like, and Hank Scorpio is like, "Don't worry, Homer. We don't have any walls here. We don't believe in walls. Matter of fact, I didn't even give you my coat." It's a great visual gag where he's put it back on. It's backwards. It looks
Yeah.
ridiculous, but he's like snuck it out and put it on like a magic trick, like
And it's a
street
very,
magic.
very fun visual gag. I also like how Hank seems like he genuinely cares about the people he has working for him. And he asks Homer if there's any kind of dream. And I think we skipped over this earlier, but Homer in this episode has a dream of owning the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes,
And this is a running bit in the series where Homer
it
has
is important
various,
to this whole series. Yep.
when he has various dreams of like, I want to eat the biggest hoagie, I want to do this, I want to do that. But this is one of those dreams that is actually a running gag throughout the episode, which was fun. And of course, everyone else who he's told this dream for laughs in his face. But of course, Hank is just like, hey, I bet a lot of people laugh at you when you say that, and he's just kind of like, you can do this, man. I believe in you. So it's the first time that Homer has had a boss who respected him.
Yes.
And that is a huge aspect of this whole episode.
Somebody who believes in his crazy dream.
Yes.
Because he's out there. He's just dumb enough to believe anything's possible. And having somebody support that, you create a beautiful thing. It's a very cool moment in this. Because he's like, live your dream, Homer. That's a great message for the kids.
Yeah.
So Homer's going to be the manager of a section of their nuclear division. And they walk in, and he's showing him his employees that he's going to have. There's 3 nerds sitting at desks, like typing away. He goes, "These gentlemen will be your eyes and ears. And should they need a rise, they'll fill in for any other body part." And he has a great line where Hank goes, "You're going to give him the benefit of your years of experience."
Don't worry, that won't take long.
That's fantastic. And we know it won't. I mean, that's factual.
Yeah, no, it's the most accurate thing Homer probably says all episode.
This one is one of those parts where it's chock full of jokes that are just like back to back.
Yeah, because that immediately goes to us with a fun trust fall phone call bit.
He's like, "You gotta trust me. Here, you're gonna trust me. You're gonna do a trust fall. You're gonna fall into me, and I'm gonna do it on the count of 3." And he goes, 3, 2, and the phone rings.
Ring.
1 second. He turns away, and Homer falls and smacks on the ground. It's he turns and he's like, "That wasn't mistrust. It was a phone call."
Yeah,
But
good, perfect timing for that. And I love the line too. He's like, "I have to go. Someone ate part of my lunch," and then Hank scurries off.
something very important happened. Somebody ate part of my lunch.
Also, what's the line that Homer uses to encourage his employees?
Well, so I was going to say is what's really important about this is like Homer is now the boss, and he's given him full reign to be the boss.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to give it a shot. He's Homer. He has no fear. And he goes, "Are you guys working?" And they're like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Could you work any harder?" And they're like,
Sure thing,
"Sure thing,
boss.
boss."
And
It's
then there's
great.
a
He's
fun
like, "Wow,
animated,
man!" And he's clearly chuffed with himself. It's
yeah.
the cutest thing, you know.
And then he
Homer
goes like,
living his dream.
he's even pulling off the Hank things, like, "Hey, call me Homer." You know,
Exactly.
so this is what
He's a good
happens.
boss.
This is what happens when Homer is given support. He may even become semi-competent. And, maybe he's not good as a stool moistener in Sector 7G, but maybe he is good as a supervisor to motivate people to do job who's smarter than him.
We know they're always drawn back, though, Josh. The
Yeah.
characters never get out.
Yeah. So now we're cutting over to some of the side stories here, right?
Yeah, so Bart is gone to school, and it seems great too. He's met some kids. There's somebody that kind of looks, like Milhouse comes up. He's like, "Do you have a best friend?"
Yeah. I also like how he's impressing them with armpit farts,
Yep,
which is a
yep.
callback to our last episode with Future Drama,
Yes,
where Bart made armpit farts a language. So I find it funny that, again, we
that's
weren't planning
right.
this, Robin. We weren't trying to kind of have these little
No.
connections between episodes, but yet here again we are. And then in the commentary, they mentioned that the sign for the school is at has a website, and that was supposed to be an indicator in 1996 that it was a fancier school than Springfield Elementary. It kind of falls flat in the year 2024, but back in 1996, trust me, kids, it was funny.
I love how, in response, the cool kid of the class goes, "Hey, kid, you got some fresh sounds."
Yeah, yeah, the cool kid with the Lennon round glasses and the nice jacket, right? So
The problem is that once they actually get into class, they have a very funny teacher comes in. Things go poorly for Bart, so he writes a phrase in cursive on the board, and he calls Bart, and he does not know cursive. He just it's almost like he can't read at all, and so he starts going, wibble, gibble, jibble, and the teacher's like, "So you never learned cursive?" And Bart
oh,
has a great line I know
I
you
love it.
loved.
I know hell and damn and bit and
No, no, no. I was talking about cursive. It's a great line. Bart is a miscreant. Uh,
uh,
and then we move to Mom again, and
yep.
she's just sitting there staring at the ether. This is a great image in this because it's relatable to a lot of people these days. She's just sitting there. She has nothing to do. Everything's clean. There's a glass of wine in front of her, and she takes a sip, and it goes dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I also love it how it's a half glass a day. So have you ever drank just a half glass of wine?
No, there's a callback to that later in this. It's like, I know I'm
Yeah.
supposed to drink more, but I
Now,
can't drink that much.
there's a part of me that was like, well, Marge is a smart lady. She could have taken an art class. She could have
Oh
done
yeah,
something that would have engaged her. But
she likes theater.
also thought about moving to a new town, not knowing anybody, being shy, trying to noticing your normal routine get shattered. Also, this isn't a Marge episode, it's a Homer episode. So we
100%.
got to keep these things quick or else we're going to just be going on and on and on and on forever.
Yeah.
But I do see an alternative reality where Marge starts doing a book club or an art club or something to that
What it's
regard and
saying
she
is
starts
she's
to like it.
antisocial.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like it's
Cool.
like what happens when somebody's antisocial loses their day to day activities. Like that has
Right.
to go be social to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a whole
But you get
episode into
you get the
itself.
idea
Right.
of they've got everything, and it kind of sucks because then they can't do the things that they want done.
Correct.
And Bart as well has been put into a remedial class because of this.
I
And of
love
course,
this
he goes in
class.
and
This
it's
class is so good.
the special kids, and he goes in there and he's like, "So what are you in for?" And there's a couple of characters there that are fantastic. The Canadian Josh.
I moved here from Canada, and they think I'm slow. Eh?
There's a kid fell off the jungle gym and woke up in there, and then there's obviously the spaz kid who's like, I start fires.
Yeah. I also love how they pull out a safety pencil with a circle of paper.
Circle, no sharp edges,
No
Josh,
sharp
no sharp
edges.
edges.
No sharp edges.
And the teacher's like, I hope we couldn't finish our work on the letter A this week. And Bart's like, I don't want to be in here. Like, we're gonna go slower. That's cuckoo. And all the
Yeah.
kids are going cuckoo, cuckoo. They're just like nutty. It's a weird gag where one of the kids, like the kid that starts fires, like patting Bart, and they just smacks him.
Yeah.
Paints a picture, Josh. Paints a picture.
But I found it odd, and I know I have in the back of my head the reason why. Lisa is not in school, is she?
She's not. She's out walks in the woods. She's in the vignette as well, and she's just having a blast.
Yeah.
In the script it says one person not affected by the town is Lisa, and she's out running through the forest, seeing forest animals come through. It's a beautiful scene. She's like, "Hello, Mr. Chipmunk. Hello, Mr. Owl," and skips on. Of course, the
Yeah.
owl comes down, snatches the
I
chipmunk.
love that
Very
joke.
dark
It's
little
so
moment.
good. So I
She's
have
like
two.
Little Red Riding Hood going through the forest.
I have a couple reasons why I think they didn't want to have Lisa in school. One, you're going to have to animate a second grade class, get a new teacher, voices, all the thing. A lot easier to just show her in the redwoods, do a couple jokes about, nature and whatnot. And then you don't have to get more voice actors or characters designed. You can just kind of have this little side story. Plus,
It's insightful.
it fits so neatly into Lisa as a character who's always been one
Yes.
with nature, who's
This
always
is
wanted to
just
be out there.
very defining of who she is.
Yeah. So
She's found this redwood forest. We've been there. It's amazing, and
very
she's
nice.
just absolutely enraptured.
Yeah. But
And
as we were going through these episodes, I'm looking at them with a little bit more of a critical mind, and these kind of thoughts came in. Like I don't want them to change anything. I think this is perfect as is. But there was like my logical brain going, wait a tick. How come Bart's in school and Lisa's not?
yeah, it is a good point. I mean, maybe she was too smart to get in.
Yeah. She was so smart. They're like, just go hiking. Just go hiking.
No. This is what we teach children like you. Just go run on the ground. So we cut to them walking the promenade. It's like a perfect night. The family's walking together, which Lord knows they never do anything like that. And Homer's talking about how great it is at work. And Scorpio says he's up, productivity is up 2%. It's all because of my motivational techniques, like donuts and the possibility of more donuts.
Yeah, it's really fun that Homer has something. He has something to brag about finally to his family. Usually his work life, he doesn't want to brag about it because he's just, some
kind of
loser.
A grunt. Yeah, absolutely.
And so
he's so excited.
In the commentary, the artist said that, I forget his name. I'm sorry, maybe it was David Silverman, but I could be screwing that up.
I think so.
They said it's loosely based off of the 3rd Street Santa Monica Promenade.
Yes, very much so.
Matt Groening has a funny joke where he's like, "Where'd you guys come up with this store name?" And one of the writers replied, "About after 3 hours of work." And there is a running bit in the commentary when you hear Simpsons creators talk, where they'll have a whole episode ready to go, and then they'll spend 8 hours on a sign gag because they want it to be right, even though that is just a passing joke that most people won't even recognize.
But that's the thing, is every moment is so chock full in this particular episode.
It's jam-packed.
The scene there is they run into a baseball card shop, or no, like a
sports memorabilia
collectible. Yeah. And Bart sees a baseball and says, "Wow, it's made out of Secretariat." The running horse.
Yeah.
It's dark. They're dark. And Homer sees Tom Landry's hat, and he's like, "I wish I could have that." Oh wait, I can't have that. And he shows her the next scene. He goes to work, and he's successful now. His boss loves him. He's having a great time, and he puts on the hat, the Tom Landry hat. He's just standing there with his, hands on his sides, like just overseeing it, and it's wonderful. He's just clearly eating this up right here.
But his hat is not enough, is it?
Well, so the people are kind of tired, and he's like, hey, pick it up, and he's like, "Oh, we're sorry, we're kind of tired. We've been like really working overtime." And Homer's like, "You know what you need? Hammocks." And it's a great idea. And
Yeah, I love
Homer is a great boss. Like, given the
Yeah.
opportunity, he's a great boss. And so he goes to Hank. Of course, he's like, I think we need hammocks for everybody. And he's like, that's a great idea. Of course he does. And there's a great back and forth with them where he's like, where can I go get hammocks? And he starts naming off shops.
Hammocks. Homer, there's 4 places. There's the Hammock Hut. That's on 3rd.
Uh-huh.
There's Hammocks R Us. That's
it.
on 3rd, too. You got Put Your Butt There.
Mm-hmm.
That's on 3rd.
Yes.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Right.
Matter of fact, they're all in the same complex. It's the Hammock Complex down on 3rd.
Oh, the Hammock District.
That's right.
Yeah,
And,
it's a great bit, and he's going beat by beat by beat, and it's hammock joke after hammock joke after hammock joke. And once again, this is a part that was ad-lib. So when Homer is like, yeah, he
It's
is literally
great.
replying. Dan is literally replying to Albert in the booth, just going and going and going, and Dan's just overwhelmed. He's like trying to keep up with the script and stuff like that, which is amazing. And that's one of the nice things about Albert Brooks as a guest star is that he comes ready to play.
Is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's so craftily done, and it just knocks your socks off. So now we start to grow. They're at Globex. Now Globex becomes the center of the story, and Homer's at work. And Hank's secretary, as they're talking about these hammocks, says, they're ready for you on the link up.
Ready for the link up, Mr. Scorpio.
Homer, 1 second. I got to take care of this. Very important. Be right back.
Fine.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Scorpio. I have the doomsday device. You have 72 hours to deliver the gold, or you face the consequences. And to prove I'm not bluffing, watch this.
The twist is it opens up on this very much a James Bond scene where the evil guy has his death ray pointed out of the top of the dome, and he's got all the world leaders, and he says, give me $1 billion or I will blow up the 59th Street Bridge. And they're like, you're bluffing.
He talks about the doomsday device, and he gives him a 72-hour countdown. And to prove that he's not bluffing, he blows up the 59th Street Bridge. And one of the world leaders is like, maybe it blew up on accident. And the other one is like, I want to take a chance.
Why don't we ever get to take a chance? I want to take a chance.
Yeah, I kind of butchered that quote, but it's so funny. I love the idea of a world leader who was just so fed up with all the world terrorists out there. And he's like, let's just take a chance.
The immaturity, perhaps, of the people that are in that voice is like, why don't we ever just go for it?
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is where we really start to get clues that he is a Bond villain. I was also kind of like reminded of Dr. Evil, but of course that's just a Bond spoof.
Yes, but I think this predates that, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not.
Maybe it might be around the same time. I think Austin Powers, it's very close to each other.
Yeah.
But making fun of Bond is not new. The Simpsons weren't the first to do it. They won't be the last. Which is also again why it cracked me up that they made Josh explain who Bond was. That was just kind of blew my mind.
It's because it's just a perfect Bond spoof scene.
Yeah,
and it's so reminiscent of the movies that it keys you back into that. It's like dual happy thoughts watching this. And that's where we're just back to back on these scenes now. Like we're invested at Globex, and Homer's now wandering around in search of. He's got coffee in his hand. He's looking for sugar. He asks the guard. He's like, "Where can I get some sugar?" And he's like, "Inside that."
And the guard is wearing a very fascist-like uniform and carrying a machine gun. So,
but he's very nice. He gives them the directions.
No, but I'm saying like we are now, gone are the Silicon Valley
the pretenses.
It's now Bond stuff, so it started out with like Silicon Valley people like in business casual type of attire.
They live in a Bond villain's lair.
Correct. Yeah. And so then we have one of my favorite exchanges. Well, there's actually two. So Homer asks Hank for sugar, and he grabs it out of the pockets. And then what does Hank offer Homer?
Homer goes, you have any sugar around here? Hank goes, sugar? Sure. And he digs into his pocket and he pulls out handfuls of sugar. There you go. Sorry it's not in packets. Want some cream?
And then Homer's like,
Like, where's he
No.
gonna pull that out of? Let's not
Yeah.
take that chance. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
There's also a question that Hank asked, "What's your least favorite country, Italy or France?" Homer replies,
France.
and then Hank goes, "Haha, no one ever says Italy,"
Oh,
which I
it's
love.
brutal.
It's so brutal. And we discussed this before we started recording. I have some Italian in me, but no French. You have some
Uh,
French in you, but I don't think any Italian.
I've
So
I've spent a lot of time in France. I'm lucky enough to spend a lot of time in France. I'm a huge Francophile, and I speak French, and I love the French and everything about
yeah,
them. So it hurt a little bit, but I totally understand the joke.
yeah. You know, France may win some World Cups, but they're also going to feel Hank Scorpio's wrath.
We have now we have a couple of quick jaunts around the town to see
Yes.
what everybody's
Yeah.
doing. Marge is still has nothing to do and takes another sip of wine. It's like dun 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 dun, and it's clearly that she's on the descent. And Bart is in the remedial class, and they're playing like Barney, and he's like, "Oh God, like kill me now." And now Lisa is out in the forest, and she just starts having this massive allergic reaction to all the wildflowers
Yeah.
and the animals out there, and she looks terrible. They do, because if you have allergies, when you get that real red face, like in the really good.
Well, and apparently she went like nose first into those flowers too, because there's pollen just across her face, like she's some kind of football player, like doing the black marks, right?
Lisa does
And
cocaine.
and she's
But if anybody knows allergies, it's profound. Like immediately she's miserable. She was the last holdout, and now she's like, no, you can't live with that shit. I know, because I got
yeah.
allergies myself.
And who wants to
And
be taking medication every day, for allergies? That's not good.
I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fuck you, Josh.
Yeah, no one
I
wants to do
love my
that.
allergy medication. I'll never stop taking it.
So now we're coming up to one of the best scenes of the entire
This is
episode.
seminal scene of this show.
Yep.
And Homer is trying to feed $1 to a soda machine, and we're in one of the classic Bond scenes from Goldfinger, where Bond is there, but it's not Bond. Josh, you said they couldn't get the name.
Correct. So they went with James Bont, Bont,
Mr. Bont.
Yeah, and I
They
love
always
how
do that. It's like just enough to be slightly different, but it's
you
not
have to
enough.
pronounce that T, Bont.
They had the classic exchange between the evil villain, where he's gonna tell, he's gonna convey, and divulge everything about his plan to Bond, and
the classic,
and then kill him.
You expect me to talk?
He goes, "No, I expect you to die, Mr. Bond." That's
And then
the
Hank
actual
adds the
line.
ad lib of, and I want you to be a very cheap funeral.
It's so cold. He's so cold. That was so good, because you see how sociopathic he is. And then he's like, he's a true villain now. He was really good for Homer, and we love that, but he would kill him if he had to.
So I also like how the dollar keeps coming in and out, right? So that's why Homer is
sitting
still
there while
at
this
the
guy's
machine.
dying on the table.
And what happens how does Mr. Bunt get out of this death
So
trap?
he in an homage, he managed to fish a quarter out of his pocket, near pound note, whatever it is, and flips it in the air, hits the lasers, because it's just like the scene in Goldfinger. Like, he's on the table and the laser's slicing up the middle, and it's going to reach his crotch in just 2 seconds. In the nick of time, he flips up this thing. It splinters the razor blade and hits all of his chains that's keeping him on the table, and he jumps up and he's starting classic. He gasses them. He's going to save the whole day right here. And he's running to get out of there. He's escaped. And he goes, "Somebody stop him." And Homer's like, "Huh?" He tackles him, tackles James Bond. And immediately the guards run over, just fucking kill him with machine guns.
So much.
Brutally. He's dead.
Ingenious, isn't it, Mr. Bunt?
Scorpio, you're totally mad.
I wouldn't point fingers, you jerk.
Sure, do you expect me to talk?
I don't expect anything from you except to die and be a very cheap funeral. You're gonna die now. Stop him! He's supposed to die! Nice work, Homer. When you go home tonight, there's gonna be another story on your house.
Thank you.
So one of the famous tropes in a Bond movie is they never kill him. This is something that Austin Powers makes fun of too. It's like, oh, we'll have one inept guard guarding the heroes, and we'll just assume that the death trap is going to work. We'll just assume everything's going to be fine, which always gives them the bandwidth to escape and come back and save the day. Not for Mr. Bunt.
No,
He
they could
like
completely
Homer
go against
tackles
the whole
him,
thing. It
and
is hilarious when they
and
go,
Hank has a
they
great line.
destroy the trope, Josh.
And Hank has a great line too. He's like, "Great job, Homer. When you go home, there's going to be an extra story on your house."
And he's
And
chuffed
I
about it.
love it.
It
I love
immediately
it.
goes into him having dinner with his family going,
Yep.
I tackled a loafer at work today. Like he had a great day at work. You know what I mean?
That's one of my favorite lines ever. I tackled a
It's
loafer
so
at work
good.
today. Like just
And it was James motherfucking Bond. He just got murdered.
and unfortunately, this is when Homer finally realizes that his family is miserable.
They're miserable. They're sitting around and they're like, the remedial school is awful for Bart.
Yeah.
Marge is just bored out of her cord. She's literally going, a little insane. She's like, I've been drinking wine. I know doctors say you should drink a glass and a half a day, but I just can't drink that much.
Yeah, she's only drinking a half a glass a day, which is a great joke.
And she's horrified by herself, though.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the whole point. And Lisa's, not having a good time either with her allergies. And so they're like, Homer, we want to go home. And he's like, but it's so good here. For the first time in my life, I'm good at my job. We're way ahead of the weather machine and the warfare divisions.
Yeah, I love that too, because you just totally imagine this is such a killer Bond villain that he doesn't just have one plan. He has a lot of irons in the fire
yeah.
to see what works. So if the nuclear didn't get on board, he would go to the germ warfare, and if that doesn't work, we got weather control.
That's it. That weather control, that'd be interesting. New episode.
So Homer has to go back and break the news to his boss Scorpio.
So Marge is like, we'll leave it up to you, Homer. But he knows they want to go back, and Homer's such a softie. He could never deny him. So he walks back into work. He's just sad. He's hung his head. He's walking over there, and he's really upset. And he walks up, and he's like, hey, can I talk to you, boss? Hank is now in full war. A bunch of troops have burst into the lair, and there's gunfire and bombs going off and things like this. And he's like, I'm a little busy, Homer. Can it wait? And Homer's like, no, it really can't. He's like, okay, like what's bothering you? And so Homer breaks it to him that he's going to have to go. His family is not happy and they want to leave. He's like, let him go. We can go bowling together.
And he mentions
like,
how
no.
it's like a lot of the little things. And then Scorpio replies, well, it's the little things that make life matter. So he's very understanding. And this continues the trope or the theme that we've seen throughout the episode where Homer is oblivious to everything going around him.
Exactly.
So we're in the middle.
Completely not seeing it at all.
And we're in the middle of a finale of a Bond movie where there's lots of gunfire and action. We have the femme fatale doing backflips and then breaking someone's neck with her thighs.
She wraps her thighs around this guy's neck and like snaps it. It's
which is
not
very similar
subtle.
Which is very similar to Onatop from GoldenEye.
Yes, exactly.
And so we have the military coming in, and the people on the commentary were very praising the artist, because in this section, every little moment that happens in the background while Homer and Hank are talking is a story unto itself.
Yes, 100%.
So it's so well done, and it's amazing that they jam-pack so much into a little section. And I love when you get this very nice heartfelt, goodbye. And Scorpio is like, Homer, on your way out, if you want to kill somebody, it would really help.
Because this whole time he's been really listening and responding, and at the same time he's taking on this army by himself. He's kicking over things and shooting over here and pressing that and everything.
He eventually gets the doomsday device up and running, and then he picks up a flamethrower and he just starts flamethrowing people like crazy. Yeah, it's insane. I also love how
sorry to miss you, Homer, but you got to do with your family. If you want to kill somebody on the way out, feel free. That would be great.
And then he suddenly kicks, he's kind of downtrodden, and a grenade shows up, and he just kind of kicks it to the side, and you hear multiple people screaming.
Like a kid kicking a rock when he's sad. He's like, ah! And
so then, much like E.I. Doe, so this is another trend, right? The family just randomly returns to the house that they abandoned.
Real quick, Josh, I have to bring up one of the great visuals in the whole episode, which is the last time we see Hank Scorpio is him jumping over the console with a flamethrower
Yes.
and going ah, ha, 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 and like just murdering
Right.
everybody.
Right. Yeah, it's great.
And so they head back home, and they get back, and like the grass is all grown up and everything. They pull the abandoned sign off. They go in, and Otto's like squatting in there.
Yeah, there's also a fun gag too with the newspaper that says supervillain seizes East Coast. So it
That's right.
proves that Scorpio was successful.
It's very important.
Yeah.
He did it.
And then and then Otto is just like,
Project Arcturus.
let me just get my girlfriend and I'll go, hey Crystal, wake up.
I love those little things with the relationships in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also love
Crystal
how
is a recurring character.
much like when they went to Cypress Creek for the first time and closed the door and the doorbell rang, same thing happens when they go back home.
Yep.
And what was the thank you gift that Hank gave Homer for his time at Globex Corporation?
So we close on they've been successful, and he gets a knock on the door, and it's somebody saying sign here, and hands him an envelope, and it's from Hank Scorpio to Homer Simpson saying, we could not have pulled this off without you. So this is going to get you a little closer to your dream of owning the Cowboys. It's not the Cowboys, but it'll get you closer to it. And it's the Denver Broncos, and he goes, the Denver Broncos. Because they were dreadful at the time. They were just for years and years and years, and so it was a joke at the time. But you're telling me,
you're more knowledgeable on sports than I am, but I think when they were writing this episode, the Broncos were terrible. But
it's 1990s, yeah, okay.
It came out in 1996, but by 1997 and 98, they were going to the Super Bowl, and I think they won one.
They did, Josh. They won it against the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah? Oh, did that hit a little... Aw.
It's all right.
Bless your heart.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I love how Marge goes, I think owning the Denver Broncos is pretty good.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't understand, Marge.
And also, they really do illustrate how bad they are, because like they're throwing the ball, like they're basically doing a full uniform helmet practice, and like they're throwing the ball and it's bouncing off their head. They're like not tackling each other right. They do look like amateur hour.
They do this as well. The professional sports team, just like running into each other, and then tripping over.
Yeah, you almost want like the was it the Benny Hill song playing in the background?
Exactly.
And then I love how we also get a Bond-inspired song on the credits.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, this is over the credits song they do, very much in the style of James Bond. I'm losing the name of the woman that sings a lot of those, but she did "You Only Live Twice." You only live twice, and
which,
a lot of those famous
is a parody of "You Only Move Twice."
Exactly. Well, it was the first, and but it's great. It's great. Written by Nate Gray, and it's like Scorpio. He'll sting you with his dreams of power and wealth. Beware of Scorpio. So
Awesome.
that was one of the better credit scenes I've ever seen. It's hilarious.
So you wanted to go with your final thoughts first, or shall I?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is truly amazing, fantastic. I need to come up with new words besides fantastic, hilarious, amazing. Because this is all those combined. As a fan of the Bond franchise, the writers hit all the notes. Albert Brooks is a goddamn saint, and maybe one of the best side guests that they have reoccurring on this show. The side stories of the rest of the family are entertaining. They're short and sweet. They hit the points right. And if someone asked me, I've never seen The Simpsons, what episode should I give a shot? You Only Move Twice would be like on the short list.
We could put Extraordinary on the list, Josh.
Yeah, there you go. Extraordinary. I'm going to have to get out my thesaurus. And what are your final thoughts?
My final thought is absolutely 100% the work that Albert Brooks and Dan Castellaneta as Homer do in this episode. Their interplay with this, it is a perfect combination of artists doing this fantastic thing together, and they pull it off flawlessly in this, and it is certainly one of the best characters they've ever had on The Simpsons.
Nice.
Well, Scorpio.
Well, great job, Robin. And before we dive into our next episode, let's take a brief commercial break. Sacrilicious was approached by Hank Scorpio with an enticing offer. Unsure of this dastardly devil, we decided to put a mic in the room. Here is that conversation.
Hello and good morning, my good man. Wait, don't assume gender, Hank. Remember the incident in Sweden. Well, if you're non-binary, great. I am too. If not, even better. Heels are horrible in my arches. Now, down to thumbtacks. Where's a brass tacks? I can never remember. Where was I? Oh, right. Have you ever wanted to own an NFL football team?
Oh, wowzers, a football team? I've always wanted one of those.
Well, then don't touch that dial, because here's the good part.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Abraham Lincoln? A great man in history. Big hat. Do you want to be a great man in history? Today, for one low price, you could own a piece of history.
What?
Not what, but when? The NFL has shredded all of their regulations, not to mention all of their incriminating documents and those terrible, horrible, horrifying shots of Joe Namath. So today is the day, but you have to act in the next 20 seconds.
Quanto es, mi amigo?
Next to nothing. Don't worry. The team is desperate and they want you. They called me specifically, said, Hank, we want... What's your name?
Wait a minute. Which team is this?
No questions, no lies. Just saying right here on this document without reading it.
The Denver Broncos.
Well, you read it? I told you not to read it. People don't listen anymore. There's no GPS for life, my dad used to say. Did I make that up?
Look, man, I'm not buying the Broncos.
Well, okay, that settles it. If you don't like the Broncos, I don't like the Broncos. There. I tore up the contract. That's a smart move. I like you. You're crafty. Now, how about the Washington...
No.
No. Great. All right, then. I am off to the sauna. I am swimming the channel this afternoon, and I need to stretch. Bye, and good luck.
Well, I don't know, man. Our sponsors, I tell you, we had Jeff, if that's his real name, and now we have Hank trying to sell us the Denver Broncos.
Who's doing our promotions, Josh? You touch that guy.
I might have to fire our agent who's setting up these sponsors. You know, we might. You know, Carol's great, but maybe we could do better.
Probably. I mean. She has been hitting the sauce a little bit lately.
She ain't the only one. All right, folks. Well, my pick this time around is Lemon of Troy from Season 6, Episode 24. This was directed by Jim Reardon, written by Brent Forrester, and the first air date was May 14th, 1995.
Springfield's town treasure is missing.
The lemon tree's gone, and the tracks appear to lead into Shelbyville.
Now Bart's leading a rescue mission into enemy territory.
We'll get it back or choke their rivers with our dead.
But the sweet taste of victory could turn sour.
We'll never make it out alive.
It's the War of the Lemon.
We just got word there's Springfield kids in town.
Curse those handsome devils.
The Simpsons. The Simpsons Hour tonight.
So I had just turned 18. No. Yes, 18.
Nice.
Just turned 18.
Yeah, so this may not be the best episode ever, but it is topping the charts for me. And once again, I listened to the commentary. So I'm going to just kind of give a little foreshadowing here for the commentary. This was what I like to call a watch-along commentary, where they had some points here and there, but it was nowhere as detailed as it was for the previous episode, You Only Move Twice. And so there's really not a lot of stuff to kind of discuss from them, but Matt Groening had a very fun opening where he introduces himself and mentions that he's the creator of Grandpa Simpson. And this is a gag that he does on a lot of the commentaries for like a streak, where he just kind of talks about how he it was the creator of a specific character, which is fun. And he also mentioned one of his least favorite characters. I'm going to give you a hint, Robin. I'm going to ask you to guess this. It's one of the children in this episode. So out of the children that we have, who do you think is Matt's least favorite character?
I'm trying to remember the kid's name. Is it like Data?
Database. You hit it nail on the head. And you didn't see the commentary because that's
not.
Mm.
So if there's two options, and it wasn't the other one.
There you go. And similar to Three Men in a Comic Book, there are some fun interactions amongst the youth of Springfield for this episode. It is,
Definitely a kid-driven
I
episode.
again, I don't really plan this stuff too far in advance, but I find it interesting that we did go from something that was a children's adventure, and now I'm going into another children's adventure. So maybe I'll mix it up for next week or next time, or maybe I won't. Stay tuned to find out.
It's also interesting because we were talking about this is clearly a Bart-centered episode,
Yes.
and the first one was this Homer episode, and they're very different storytelling.
Yeah, so even though Homer became the main focus of the show, that does not mean he was the only focus. You would still
Not
have
at all.
Lisa, Marge, and Bart having their own episodes.
This is the whole point of opening it up. Mo had an episode.
Correct. They'll even go into the side characters too, as well. So that is something, just because we say Homer is the main focus does not mean he is the only focus. And
100.
the chalkboard gag stood up to me, maybe because I'm a history major and I love this kind of thing, but it says the First Amendment does not cover burping. And I want to hit up a legal scholar who's a First Amendment expert, because
the First Amendment being the right to free speech.
Correct. Free speech, press, and religion, if I'm not mistaken. And because if the government is trying to come down and crack on my burps, I feel like that's a violation of my First Amendment rights.
But didn't Bart create an actual language?
Well, no, that was with armpit farts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people who created a language with burps was Wacko Warner from the Animaniacs. And I believe that was Maurice LaMarche doing the fake burps, if I'm not mistaken. But this is not
There's
an
a crossover
podcast.
we should have had, Josh. The Animaniacs. I love that. It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, no, Animaniacs is a fantastic program as well. So we open with Bart skating and finding some wet cement. He is so gung-ho about signing his name in the wet cement that he passes up a safe of jewels that falls from the sky and a flying motorcycle with Professor Frank. And he's like, "Hey, Bart, you want to go on your flying motorcycle?" And he's like, pass. So he writes his name in the wet cement, and then he kind of has his own little like flash forward of him imagining the future, and everybody's amazed that somebody was able to write in solid cement the word Bart, and using technology they bring him back to life.
It was a ray gun.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you had a couple like lines that you liked from there, but one of my favorite ones was when they said, "You must have been much smarter than he must have been much smarter than his sister Lisa, whom we know nothing about."
We know nothing about.
And that's how you can tell it's definitely Bart's fantasy.
His dream, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, get back at his sister in the future.
And then he starts doing basic yo-yo tricks to impress these futuristic suckers. And what is the line that they have?
So they're like, "Ooh," and they're like, "What's normal to him amazes us." And he goes, "He will be our god."
Yeah, fantastic. So then Marge catches Bart graffito tagging the cement, which I love. That is a perfect Marge line.
You're graffitoing.
Yeah, so she's actually really upset because Marge is very prideful about her hometown of Springfield. She's a native. She grew up here. And we cut back to the house, and she's trying to instill into the family a sense of pride in their hometown. So she asks the question, "Whatever happened to town pride?" And Lisa replies, "It went down since the lake caught fire." Fabulous. It's fantastic.
It's like, how do they have an oil spill in a lake, Josh?
Yeah. And also it makes me wonder if it was like the tire fire that never goes out in Springfield. Did they just have the lake on fire for ages? Which is a lot of fun. And then Marge starts going into and then Marge starts going into a speech, and it's something you're doing Springfield, right? Yada yada yada, you are Springfield. And it closes with, "When you make lemonade from our lemons, you are drinking Springfield." And Bart, he goes, "Mom, with that speech, you're boring Springfield." And so we can also a fun part where Marge goes, "A part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all." I'm sorry for repeating myself, but it'll help you remember. And so on the DVD commentary, they mentioned the whole idea was basically just kind of have warring factions to kind of like show the pride even more. And we'll get to that more as we introduce Shelbyville. But we are very much setting up a Springfield versus Shelbyville scene. And this is the
Oh,
seed
absolutely. This is where
that is planted.
Shelbyville became more of a character in the series.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been there, but we definitely get a lot more action in Shelbyville than we do for most episodes. So now we have Bart cutting around town, and we have a voiceover of Marge, a part of us all, and he was kind of like, "Hey, that does work."
It does work, and he's starting to try and look around and feel some town pride. I love the little tiny montage he gets. He drives by, he's on a skateboard, goes by the Isotope Stadium, the baseball team, and he's like, "Hey, you guys gonna win?" They're like, "We're gonna try." And Bart's like, "Yeah." The guy throws the ball, and it's like if he and it like hits the ground right in front of him.
Yeah, Bart had a better throw with that lug nut in the warehouse than that baseball player did.
It's like a classic, and just like it's right 2 feet in front of him. It's amazing.
And this montage ends with the lemonade stand. And once again, this was not planned, folks, but we got a lemonade stand again. So in the previous episode, Bart was trying to make money so he could buy Radioactive Man #1. One of the ways he did that was with the lemonade stand, and he hated it. He said it was stupid, right? So now, however, it's a completely different scenario, and there's no one around except for Lisa, who just bought a pity glass, and I love how she calls it a pity glass. It's very funny.
She's like, "I'm not going to drink this."
But because of this new installed pride that Bart has, he doesn't think lemonade stands are stupid. He thinks it's a natural part of Springfield. And holy crap, they run out of lemons. So of course
Millhouse goes, "We've squozen our whole supply."
Yeah, and he goes, "To the lemon tree."
To the lemon tree.
And we're off to the races. And this is a audio medium with podcasts. So unfortunately, folks at home cannot see how beautiful this next scene is. They have various silhouettes as they go through the forest, up mountains, across streams.
Across the river. I love the river part.
Yeah. And they come across an opening on a hillside, and there's a giant lemon tree that's glowing, and the kids are dancing around it, and Millhouse goes, "There she grows."
There she grows.
So a little bit of a home story.
So stupid.
When I was living in Chatsworth, my dad planted a lemon tree, and we were never going to see that lemon tree grow to its full potential. And I do remember me just kind of like, in my mental mind, I never really did this, like kind of dancing around, "Ooh, the lemon tree, the lemon tree."
Did y'all ever have fruit trees?
We did not. We had an olive tree that was nasty, and we never like really ate them. They just kind of fucked up the pool area.
Friends that had
I think we got 2 whole lemons out of that baby lemon tree, and they were not edible.
So that's better than the alternative. Is that my friends had 2. One was 2 orange trees.
Yeah, some of my neighbors had those.
Drop a billion oranges, they will just sit there and rot.
Yeah,
that's a good line of thought.
You're supposed to like take those. You're supposed to pick them, put them in a basket, and just give them to the neighbors.
Absolutely. And people have it because they bring you like 72 apples, and they're like, "Here you go." Like,
well, some of our favorite people, the Cossack family, have an avocado tree in their house.
Now that's different,
right?
Like, that was magical.
And then they like to go fishing. So when I go visit these lovely people, they give me bluefin tuna steaks and avocados, and I'm like, "I love you guys. You're the best."
It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world.
Yeah. All right, so now that we have this pride and everything's going great, we could just end the episode, right, Robin? Everything's golden.
Listen, Bart's like, Millhouse, I've been thinking this town ain't so bad. Good friends, lots of lemons, angel sightings.
And then we hear the most awful, terrible words ever spoken in the English language. Springfield sucks.
We did that pretty well together.
Yeah. Cut to Shelbyville city limits. And no, this is a great juxtaposition, and the artists once again are doing a fantastic job. There's a sign that says "Welcome to Shelbyville," and the grass is darker green on the Shelbyville side. It's lighter green on the Springfield side. All of the kids are clones or doppelgangers of Springfield. So the Bart clone has a backwards hat and is wearing pants. The Nelson clone has a tank top with the same caveman forehead. And the Millhouse clone is basically Millhouse without glasses.
That's hilarious.
And then, so we get the classic schoolyard bullshit, where their insults are going, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, what am I? Takes one to know one. But, like just the stupid kid shit that we all did when we were growing up on the schoolyard. And then
I know you are,
Millhouse,
but what am I?
I sometimes relate too much to Millhouse, and not when he's a roided out teenager with a starter stash, but when he says the lines, I'll kick your butt at Nintendo, that was me, because I'm not a fighter.
No, me either.
I am awful, but I will try my best to kick your ass at a video game, because that's where more of my skills are.
I like how he goes, stop wearing your backpack over your one shoulder. We invented that.
And that is a running gag we get throughout the episode, where Millhouse thinks that all the stuff that happens in Springfield was original. And I remember, I don't know about you, but I remember this on the schoolyard too. Like, we thought we were so smart. We thought we were doing things that no one else ever did before. And we were doing the exact same shit that's been happening for decades.
Or worse, you're doing something that everybody else has stopped doing.
Yeah.
Somebody will tell you, like, we don't do that ananymore.
Yeah, like when you show up with your pump shoes on your graduation day, those Reeboks are a little old. Fantastic. So Bart gets the short end of the stick because he cannot lift a rock that was thrown by the Shelbyville kids. And so they're kind of like, aha, Shelbyville, rules, get the hell out of here. We're taking your lemons. And then I love the way the kids stop the Shelbyville kids from running off with lemons is by throwing lemons. And then they say something along, we can't waste a single one, but then they're like throwing them and throwing them and throwing them. So that's a fun gag. And the Bart clone gets hit in the eye, makes a threat, and runs off dropping the lemon basket.
I love what he says there, Josh. He goes, you got citric acid in my eye,
which is not fun, as we all know. So then we get Grandpa Simpson, who's just chilling at the lemon tree. I guess he has nothing better to do than just sit there waiting to be able to tell stories. And he goes, some things never change. And then Millhouse replies, hey, everybody, an old man is talking, which I love. And I've wanted to
pipe down and listen.
I've wanted to do that before, where I see some old guy talking in the street and be like, hey, everybody, an old man's talking. And I've definitely done that as an insult when I'm hanging out at the bar. And an older guy is kind of like just blobbering on, and people are kind of ignoring him. And I point, I'm like, hey, everybody, an old man's talking. And then I get a big old middle finger.
That's fantastic.
So Grandpa then explains the origin of the lemon tree, Springfield and Shelbyville. So we flash back.
Classic Abe-isms.
We flash back to pioneer times, and there's a main split between Jebediah Springfield and Shelbyville, Manhattan. And the main split is Shelbyville wants to marry their cousins. So let's do you got the line ready here? Are you going to be Jebediah for me?
Yeah, absolutely. It's why would we want to marry our cousins?
Well, because they're so attractive. I thought that was the whole point of this journey. And then a lightning bolt strikes, and we get the two townspeople kind of shuffling off on the other sides. And then there's a fun callback joke as they're going through Shelbyville later in the episode, and it does show Shelbyville, Manhattan with his two cousins. So not only is he wanting to marry his cousins, I think he wants a poly relationship instead of a mono relationship, right?
Hey, we don't judge.
Yeah, sure.
No, we do.
I'm judging, especially with the cousins thing.
They picked something pretty strong to separate Springfield from Shelbyville.
Yeah, and again, it's very much like the doppelganger effect. Like, they're very similar towns, but there's a few key differences here and there. And I love how Grandpa says they planted a lemon tree for Springfield because it was the sweetest fruit of the time, which to me is just hilarious because it makes it sound like they had no other fruit available. And of course, lemons are famously tart, not to explain the joke too much, but it's pretty funny.
That makes a callback later in the episode as well.
And then we cut to the 4th grade, and Enna is trying to teach the class about Roman numerals. Robin, did you ever have to learn about Roman numerals when you were in school?
I mean, I think briefly it always stuck. Like, I know Roman numerals, but there's the great quote here where he says, like, what is this for? And he goes, if you don't, Miss Krabappel's like, if you don't learn Roman numerals, you'll never know the date certain motion pictures were copyrighted. And I was like, what do we use it for? Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl, yep.
Copyrights.
Movies, as we'll find out with the later joke that we get.
Class, please. If you don't learn Roman numerals, you'll never know the dates certain motion pictures were copyrighted.
So I also liked Roman numerals, and I'm glad I learned them because it let me pick up on jokes. Because one of the best things about having an education in history or an education in general is that you just get more jokes. these Simpsons writers are smart folks. So,
100%.
Roman numerals comes up. This wasn't a Simpsons thing, but I'm going to do a little tangent. The movie Hercules. There are two kids who are trapped under rubble, and they go, call IXII, which is the Roman numerals for 911. So, kids, pay attention to school. It may seem boring at the time, but a joke will pay off later. I
It
promise.
makes jokes funnier. These writers are total nerds, and they
Yes.
love to throw in little layered jokes in
Yeah.
there. That's one of my favorite parts of the show.
So Nelson busts in and goes, everyone come quick, there's no time to explain. And all the kids leave. And then Edna does what?
Edna's sitting there. She's like, once again, like she didn't get a say in the matter. All the kids just run out. She's like, "No, children, no. Your education is important. Roman numerals, etc. Whatever. I tried," and sparks up a cigarette in the classroom. Like, oh well, bye.
I could totally see her like going to happy hour afterwards. It's like, oh, might as well go to Chili's and get me some margaritas.
Maybe get something else.
So we find out that Nelson has some news that he could have just told everybody, but it was too urgent anyway. So they find out that the lemon tree has been stolen and that the tracks lead into Shelbyville. So only a ragtag group of kids can save the town's pride now. And
so Database has a funny line there where he goes, "Look, a clue. A candy bar wrapper." And Milhouse goes, "Oh, they're always eating candy in Shelbyville."
Yeah, once again, Milhouse has this animosity for stuff that he does himself. It's hilarious.
Everything, yeah.
And then we have a really random cut back to the house in Springfield. And this is such a small moment that has nothing to do with the plot. It's a throwaway gag. Marge is vacuuming. Homer is sitting on the couch drinking a beer. And as Marge moves the vacuum towards Homer's feet, he lifts his legs. And it's just such a small, innocent moment. And they didn't really have to have anything in there, but it was a filler joke. And it got to me this time around. I was laughing my ass off at that because to me, it was just very much like a husband and wife doing their normal routine. Homer sitting on his ass doing nothing, and he's not going to get up and go to the other couch that they have in the living room. And of course, so Bart
trying to coexist.
Right. So Bart runs in and then runs back out. And he, Marge is like, "Where the hell are you going?" And he's like, "I'm going to go teach some kids a lesson." And Marge replies,
"I choose to take that literally."
And then he yells in the distance, "Death to Shelbyville!"
I like Homer's line.
So now we
Bart's
gather.
a tutor now. Toot on, son.
Yeah. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Good call, man. So now we get to what I'm going to call the Fellowship of Springfield.
Yep.
Bart Simpson, Milhouse Van Houten, with a fun camo bit where he's wearing camo gear, and in his imagination, he's blending so far into the bushes that only his eyes and nose appear. Great gag.
Like escapes the
yeah. And then we also have Nelson Muntz, Martin Prince, Todd Flanders, and Database, who apparently doesn't have a last name as far as I can tell. Folks at home, if you know Database's last name, please let us know, and we'll mention it in the next episode.
He is not a unknown character, but it's not.
He shows up like he's also in Bart's comment because he has a line about like, "Oh, I'm not going to turn around for your comment, Bart. It's the daytime." So Database is around. He's usually hanging out with Lisa or some of the other nerdy people like Martin Prince. So he does
Chess
come in from time to time.
AV Club.
And then Bart is running some classic movie stereotypes here about crossing the Rubicon into Shelbyville so they can become men. And then it's
sneaking in,
and then it's juxtaposed with two girls running back and forth, flying a kite between it, like nothing is happening. So all the girls are just like, whatever. It's only us guys and boys are the fucking morons.
It's the boys
who have to kind of make some kind of like, it's all warfare, it's all Roman Empire, it's all World War II nonsense, right? Which I can kind of relate to, but I also just love the innocence of the women just going back and forth and be like, "Oh, you guys are just crazy, whatever."
Boys will be boys.
Yeah. So our heroes enter enemy territory and immediately snap. And you know what they snap at, Robin? What do they snap at? Do you remember?
Fire hydrant.
They see a yellow fire hydrant. And
it's like, oh, that's so weird.
Yeah. But immediately they don't even sync on that too often because they kind of snap back to it when they hear the kids coming from Shelbyville, the Shelbyville punks. Right. And they hop behind a wall to hide.
Freaking out. It's great.
Yeah. Everyone's freaking out. Like they can't handle a different colored fire hydrant. This is not a crack team.
Except for one person. One person's having a blast.
Who?
Martin. He's like, just put a pinch of sage in your boots. And all day long you'll have a spicy scent.
And then I love how the Shelbyville punks show up with their dog while the boys are hiding behind a wall, and the dog starts to growl. And then one of the boys says, "What is it, boy? Is there something behind that wall that we should beat up?" Great line. Love it.
It's like no time. No
Yeah.
time.
And then, of course, Millhouse almost blows her cover because a kid, like somebody says something around the radio. Is like, that's what we do. So again, Millhouse is just enraged that these kids exist and that they do similar things that Springfieldians do.
And the kid said, "Radical." That's my line.
Yeah. And then back to Marge at home, and she like is still delusional and wonders where Bart is. And Lisa's like, "Hey, he is on the warpath." And then Marge kind of finally gets out of her own
He's
head.
not tutoring.
Right. And so Marge panics and runs to Homer for help, which I'm of two minds of, because it does set up the rest of the episode and keeps things going. But I want to think that Marge is a stronger woman. And like, as we saw in Trilogy of Air, I mean, she's willing to steal cars and get shit done. So it was a little weird for me, like seeing this and like she kind of panics. But you know what? We can't, this again is setting up the rest of the plot. It's not really
But Josh, he joined a violence gang. I love how she has no clue.
No, she's completely clueless. She instills it's almost kind of like a government, right? They instill all this pride, but then they don't know what to do with it once people start acting upon it.
It kind of takes on a life of its own.
Yeah. So Marge panics and runs to Homer, and then we cut back to the kids, and they decide to do the classic thing where they split up to cover more ground. I'm not going to go into all the different teams, but the one that makes me laugh is Martin and Nelson, and Martin declares, "Team Discovery Channel." It makes me laugh so much.
Nelson's like, "Oh," but he sticks with it.
Yeah, Nelson he accepts it.
In this, he is friends with the nerds in this because they're
because they have the common enemy of Shelbyville.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, when you have an outside force that's attacking your town, you're going to band together, hopefully, and take on the force together as a team. But what I love about it is Martin is dancing around Nelson, skipping, singing a song. And Nelson is like half-heartedly like, trying to smack him, which is great. And I've used this many times before where, you're in some kind of like a group activity and you have to pick teams. And I'll just like, I'm Team Discovery Channel. And then the people who laugh are the ones I want on my team because they get the reference.
It's going to be a long game.
Yeah. So the parents are home worried and they're kind of having a little powwow in front of the Simpsons house. And Homer declares, we need to go into Shelbyville. And I know whose RV we can take. Flanders's. And Flanders has a very nice RV that all the men of Springfield, all the dads, pile into.
He's just like, just please, just don't. And he's like, no time. Everybody just pile in. Don't worry about scuffing your shoes on everything. It's fine.
So then we have a very odd change of character for Martin. We go back to the kids. And he's shaking down someone who's half his size, probably somebody in like first grade or second grade. He's like, "Where'd you get the lemons? Where's the lemons for lemonades?" And he is drunk with power. He is taking this kid, he's shaking him down. The kid is scared off his ass. And he's like, "No, this is country time lemon. There isn't a drop of real lemons in it." Which is hilarious. And then the older brother of the kid being bullied comes in. And Martin goes along, he's like, "My protector," or something like that. And Nelson comes out, he's like, "I guess I'm with this guy." And he like punches the older brother.
"Spring forth, burly protector, and save me."
There you go. There's that theater background coming into play.
Chum Nelson.
Okay, Piglet, start squealing. Where'd you get the lemons for this lemonade?
This is country time lemonade mix. There's never been anything close to a lemon in it. I swear.
Hey, nobody hassles my little brother.
Hey, and no one manhandles the bosom gel of Nelson Muntz. Spring forth, burly protector, and save me!
Yeah, and so Nelson helps him out and is just kind of like embarrassed the whole time. He's even more hunched over than usual. He's very much like, I can't believe I have to do this right now. It goes against everything in his soul, but he is Team Springfield over Team Bully.
Team Springfield.
And I just love that relationship that they have with Nelson and Martin.
Deep down, he's true.
Let's see here.
So then Martin is skipping around with him after that, doing his little song. He's like, "Hark to the tale of Nelson and the boy he loved so dear. They remained the best of friends for years and years and years." It's unbelievable.
It's amazing that not only did you get that right, and then you wrote it down. So good job for that, man. Thank you. So
Mm-hmm.
Bart determines to go undercover, and Milhouse has a disguised kid, and they put a fun wig on him and a little scar, and he starts to talk like a beetle. So the Shelbyville kids
He's
ask,
reminiscent of his hair when him and Homer go on the lam.
yeah,
When they're putting that black
oh, you
things.
mean with Lisa?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
with
yeah. When they
Lisa where they put
with
like the
like the
eye
shoe
black
polish or
on.
whatever, right? And they do the hair. Very
That's
much
it. That's
so.
it.
And so he starts. He goes at the Shelbyville kids, who are very questionable of who this new person is. And the way Bart goes, he's like, "Oh, I never went to school," and they're like, "Hey, prove it." And he fucks up a math problem. He's like, "Yeah, it checks out." So that's fun. And then the antagonists are going to go paint Springfield sucks on the cliffside that overlooks the town, right? So they can know how sucky Springfield is.
I love how Bart in this is struggling to not give himself up.
Oh yeah.
He's like, "We're gonna get those Springfield kids." He's like, "Curse those handsome devils."
Yeah, and then they talk about putting stink bugs in their mouth, and he's like, "No, not in my mouth," is what the kids would say.
It's what they would say.
Yeah, because Nancy
Yeah.
Cartwright does a pretty good job of not only talking as a kid, but talking as a kid doing a British accent. So that shows you how goddamn talented Nancy is.
Jeez.
Good for her.
Mm.
So then we cut over to Flanders with his RV, kind of stopping over into a gas station of some sorts and asking some of the
In
adults
Shelbyville.
of Shelbyville if they can help finding the boys. And of course, the Shelbyvillians are drinking Fudd, which is a good callback because Fudd was in an episode. I don't know if it first appeared in this one, but it was Colonel Homer, where he's kind of going off into a far off town to go drink, and they have Fudd instead of Duff. And if you guys don't get the joke, Duff is DUFF, Fudd is FUDD. So that's fun wordplay there. And I love the little tones of the Shelbyville adults. Like, looks like Springfield has a discipline problem. Maybe that's why we always kick their ass at football.
Nearly half the time.
Yeah, so they're just like really talking shit about how Springfield sucks.
Kind of rubish.
Yeah. And so we go back to the mountainside, and Bart is the one because they still don't trust Bart yet in his disguise.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit questionable of it. So to solidify his Shelbyville bullies section,
he's got to do the deed.
Right. And the deed is spray painting Springfield sucks, as we mentioned before. And I love how he starts to do the spray painting, and the kids are like in awe. They're like, he has amazing technique. Look at that. Like, so, Bart's
his cane control is excellent.
His graffito tagging skills are second to none. He then tags
one of the Beatles.
He then tags Springfield Rules suckers and reveals his secret identity, which I love because none of the Shelbyville punks get it. They're like, "Who is this guy? Who are you?" They don't even remember the previous section where like the lemons were being thrown at them. They're very oblivious. And so he's like,
it's part of it is that how popular Bart was at this point.
Right.
So it's a bit of a joke on their own popularity.
Yeah, very good point. Absolutely. And because Barty's like, it's me, Bart Simpson. And he goes,
like,
from Springfield?
No.
Oh, Springfield, get him. And then they have a fun bit where all the Shelbyville punks like do rub-on tattoos that have various phrases on them.
Kill.
Did you ever do rub-on tattoos back in the day, man? Was that?
Sure, hell yeah. Yeah. And they make amazing ones now.
Oh yeah, they're pretty rad. The only thing I don't like is somebody who has hairy arms and legs. Is every time they start to come off, it's like it's a painful process.
They're turning themselves into like a biker gang.
Pretty much, yeah. Also, Bart tries to escape how initially.
He gets in like a cliff. He's like, I'm gonna escape, and he takes the spray paint cans, and he's like, and he tries to fly. And of course, he didn't go anywhere. He just paints his feet red.
Now
it's like, oh, that didn't work.
Did you ever have those kind of thoughts, like, oh, if I just do this, like I'll be able to fly?
All the time. Flying is one of the big things in my
so
subconscious that I would love to be able to.
Because I don't think Bart's an idiot. I think it's just a kid thing to do. You know what I mean? I don't think it's him being stupid. It's him being a kid.
It's like, this is my chance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fly.
Yeah,
I mean, like, so long, losers. And then it doesn't work at all. He's like, oh, well, there's a lesson I learned.
For fuck's sake, guy was in a factory and was using a fire hydrant, right, on a wheelchair to blow around the factory floor. Why wouldn't spray paint work to launch him in the air like the Rocketeer?
It's such a vivid, visceral way of him shooting across the factory floor with the extinguisher blowing behind him.
And then so Bart escapes by yelling, "Look, someone's attractive cousin!" And then all the kids All the kids turn
Because they
around.
caught up to him. They
They're
caught
like,
up to him, and they've got him cornered
Yeah.
on this cliff.
Yeah.
And he's
And they're like
Look!
all like they're like buttoning up their tie, making sure their hair's okay. They're like, oh, ooh, ooh.
He's like someone's attractive cousin. They're like, where?
and
That's dark. That's dark.
And I think the word attractive is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that phrase. Because like you could just say like, look, someone's cousin, and you wouldn't really pick it up.
You're
But if
like,
you say,
yeah,
look, someone's
there's some
attractive cousin,
cousins. No, it's the attractive cousin's the problem. That's
Right.
why people want.
Right. That's why Shelbyville, Manhattan wanted to marry his cousins because they're so attractive. So it's a fun little callback there. And then we get a chase scene because Bart is able to steal a skateboard.
We get a Bart skateboard scene.
And then Clone Bart, he's like, all right, launch me, boys, which shows already that he's an inferior skateboarder because you can't launch yourself and you need your friends to get started on a skateboard. Obviously, your skills aren't up to par. And basically, we get doppelganger clones again, or a multiverse, whatever you want to use. I guess it's not a multiverse. We see a Mo, doppelganger, a Willie, et cetera, and going through the towns, and everything's just a little different. And it's kind of fun to watch. And then we also get a nice callback where Bart gets stuck in wet cement, and he's like, "What did I ever do to deserve this?" Obviously oblivious to the message.
Because he and Homer were never going to learn anything.
Right. And
it's a very important point of the show.
Professor Frank shows up with his flying motorcycle and could totally rescue Bart if he needs to, but he's like, I gave you a chance. No.
The first time.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun.
I love that town scene. You get a female Willie in that one when he's going through.
Yeah, and it's the same voice actor. I'm pretty sure that might be Dan again, but it's he's basically just kind of pitching up his voice to sound a little bit more feminine.
Exactly.
But it's still the guttural, Willie voice. Bart falls off a skateboard. He runs into a tiger holding pen for some reason.
Well, he runs into the zoo.
And then he goes into the tiger area, and each of the doors are labeled with a Roman numeral, and there's a note.
It's a circular room with about 10 doors around it, and each of them has a numeral on it.
Yep, and it has a little note that says, go through door number 7 to avoid all the tigers. And then Bart complains that he's like, they never try to teach me this in school. But he is also
Roman numerals. They never try to teach us that.
He's also not completely stupid though, because he is a Rocky fan. So he kind of is like, oh wait, I could figure this out. The 5th movie of Rocky was Rocky V. Rocky V plus Rocky 2 equals Rocky 7. Adrian's Revenge.
Adrian's Revenge. That's the one. I love that. I think we need Rocky 7. I think we're on close to it. But Adrian's Revenge.
I mean, if you're including the Creed films, we're at like 8 or 9, aren't we?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I just keep making it boxing. You get punched in the head.
Adrian, stop hitting me with the hammer.
And now we get to our hot Millhouse on Millhouse action.
He runs into the doppelganger.
Is there any lines that stick out to you from this Millhouse and Millhouse meetup?
Well, he's like the other one. Millhouse in from Springfield is just cowering. He's like, he's gonna beat me up, and they have this connection where he's like, "Is this the untimely end of Millhouse?" He's like, "Wait, Millhouse is my name." It's like, I thought I was the only one. A pain I know all too well.
And then my favorite line from that is Millhouse's final closing. So this is what it's like when doves cry. And so we cut back to Bart, who apparently is the only one able to open door 7. They don't really show that he locks the door behind him or anything of that nature, and it always just kind of cracks me up.
Wasn't even a lock on the door,
right? Like, so all these Shelbyville kids walk in and they're like, "Oh, we're so dumb. We don't even know what Roman numerals are." And apparently, we can't read the note that says door number 7 is your way out to heaven.
It's a Far Side joke. The kid pushing on the pull door.
Yeah, exactly. So Bart is almost giving hope, and then he finds a lemon-shaped rock, which just so happens to have a lemon behind it. And he goes, wait a minute, there's a lemon behind that rock.
He's without his comrades wandering the town looking for the tree.
Yeah, so now we discover that the blessed tree is in the Shelbyville impound lot. And now we're gonna get the team up.
Classic scene, Josh, where like it's gated,
Yes,
and there's like guards, and they're driving on little scooter like motorcycles or tykes around the lemon tree.
I've been watching the Mad Max movies to get ready for Furiosa.
Very much.
And it reminds me of the second one, I believe, with the kid with the boomerang, where they have like the enclosed area and whatnot.
Yes.
So that's a lot of fun. And now we're going to get a team up because we have the Fellowship of the Kids meets the Fellowship of the Dads, and now we have the Fellowship of Springfield. Homer and the parents discover the kids, casing the impound lot, and like I said, we have the melding of the fellowships. And I love the bit where it's Homer and Bart versus their clones. And Homer is just kind of like, give us back the tree. And he's like, come over and get it. And Homer tries to climb the fence, much like Bart tried to lift the rock and totally fails. And the clones bite into a victory lemon, and the animation of their face puckering with the eyes like watering, but they're so proudful too that they're like, they're on the high ground, so to speak, at this point in the story.
Its entire face sucks in on itself. It's pretty gruesome animation.
Yeah, and Shelbyville basically tells Springfield to kick rocks.
Don't you get it, Springfield? It's over. You lose. Now, if you'll excuse me, all this talk has made me hungry.
I like before Homer tries to grab the fence, the guy's like, you must be stupider look. He's like, stupider like a fox. Classic Homer.
Yeah, very good. So now they're kind of defeated, and Homer is so sad that he goes to take a shower in Flanders' RV, and we hear him singing.
The darkest day at Springfield.
Right? We hear him singing in the background, and they're trying to drive home, but then Bart has this great idea, and he parks the RV in a red zone. Of course, it's such a hard cut that we hear Homer fall over in the shower, which I find hilarious. I'm also concerned because I'm at the age where falling in the shower could be a death sentence to me, especially because I live by myself.
True by Homer, he's like, the depths of this is like dangerous, and he's like, I'm just gonna jump in the shower in the RV because we have a shower in the RV, so I should jump in it.
Right. And so part of the reason Homer recommended that Flanders RV be used is so he can use all the amenities of Homer of the RV. Like he's not dumb. He's like, I know what I want to do. And so now they pull the classic Trojan horse.
Yes, they're in front of the hospital in the red zone, and the Shelbyvillian pulls up with his tow truck.
Yep, and everything seems to be going according to plan because they are towed inside the impound lot. They wait for night. Very smart.
They come out under the cover of night. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the only thing that they didn't think of is they put the lemon tree up on top of the RV. They're ready to go. And what does Bart do? He opens the gate, not thinking because he's a little kid that it's going to trigger an alarm, and a dog springs into action. Very much animated in the same way as Mr. Burns' Hounds was, but it's just one. And then what I love is Bart is running and Homer is trying to save it. So he throws out a steak. The canine swallows it whole, and then Homer declares, "Quick, boy, he has a taste for meat now."
He goes, I got you, son. And then he swallows the thing and he goes, faster, son.
I also love the animation of the dog face planting the RV, and it indents inside of the RV door. And you hear a very crunchy metal of the teeth. It's very
shows
well
you the
done.
intensity of what that dog was about to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The visual effects and sound effects for this particular scene is top notch. And it's very hard to convey on a podcast, but those who know. So they're trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. And, gun it, Flanders. What the hell's going on? I don't know. Something's straining the battery.
Everybody's starting to hear them. The Shelbyvillians are coming out.
They're all coming out. So it's time to
There's
get
a
going.
doings a transpiring.
And so they're like, Flanders, punch it. He's like, I can't. The battery's dead. And it cuts back to Homer, who's making like 4 full chickens in the oven.
Roast chickens. Yeah. Josh, do you realize this is the second episode in a row where these writers have put roast chicken into the episode?
Oh, that's right. I forgot with the cops, right? With Wiggum. Come on, boy. It's a family here. Yeah.
It's on their minds. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so they make it out of the gate with minimal damage to Flanders' RV. It definitely scrapes up the side of the RV and knocks off a back bumper.
Knocks off the bumper.
And then we get everyone is really happy, and then we're going to try to say this in union. So what is the closing argument that Homer and Bart say? They say, "Eat my shorts, Shelbyville." And then the clones respond, "Oh, you lousy Springfielders, shake harder, boy." And that's
Shake
another
hard,
line that I
shake your
use all
fist.
the time when we're like trying to shake our fist. We're like, shake harder, boy.
Shake harder, boy.
I just love that line.
I
And I also
gotta
love how,
call out the "eat your shorts." That was such one of his. That's one of the iconic phrases.
yeah,
We
absolutely.
got an "eat your shorts" moment.
And I just love how the clone of Homer's voice is kind of his older one. It's more, I forget what it was based off of, but Homer's voice has definitely changed over the years. But this sounded more of the old Homer's voice that was kind of
It's
like
more
in
country.
the Tracy Ullman shorts is what I'm getting
Uh
at,
huh.
before he got more high pitched and more
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with the voice.
Mm-hmm.
So then we, of course, we can't just have our Springfield Fellowship be heroes. They have to be idiots as well. So they go to the Welcome to Springfield sign, hits the lemon tree, knocks it off the
It's true. The
RV,
tree sticking on
and then we
top of
get
it.
the beep, beep, beep as they
It's
go back.
because this is the climax of the whole
Yeah,
thing, and
absolutely.
so like they're making their escape, and then
Yep.
boom, it falls off, and then it dead stops, and they like had to slow down and brake,
Yeah.
and then slowly back up.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So then we cut back to Grandpa Simpson, and this is another thing where I hope I can find the audio clip, but if not, we'll just put something awkward in here. It'll be fun. You'll love it, folks.
A mighty cheer went up from the heroes of Springfield. They had brought the sacred tree back to its native soil, and though Flanders was stuck with the impound fee, he could easily afford it.
It says, like this, and that's what happened with the great lemon tree caper.
Gather round.
And Milhouse is making a glass of lemonade for Bart, and they squeeze 3 drops of lemon and pour half a bag of sugar into it.
It's an homage to American culture right there.
And then we pan over to the darker green grass side of Shelbyville, and there's an old man talking very much like Grandpa Simpson. And he talks about how, we got rid of the lemon tree because it was haunted. Now let's celebrate with a cool glass of turnip juice.
They'd banished the awful lemon tree forever because it was haunted.
And recently today, I was looking at Twitter, and it comes out we're having some new emojis potentially for iOS. And one of the emojis could be a turnip. And of course, the replies to it were 3 or 4 Simpson memes of that line. So a little topical humor here. And if we end up getting the turnip emoji, Robin, I'll definitely send it your way and talk about a cool glass of turnip juice.
Phenomenal. We talk about how this is not even something I remembered from this watching it before, is that turnip juice, but I love it. And I mean, the end of the episode is the kids are sitting there like choking down.
Yeah.
The fucking turnip juice is like all purple.
It's also a root vegetable, which is hard to squeeze, so it's not like it's a lemon or a citrus.
It builds up the hands.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts of Lemon of Troy, Robin?
It's such a well-written episode and an absolute joy to watch. The thing that stood out to me is the juxtaposition in the arc of the show between the kid-focused episodes and the adult-focused episodes. With the caveat that, of course, they do a lot of different moving around of characters that they focus on. And both were different but fantastic in their own ways.
Nice. I like Lemon of Troy because it's an episode that explores Springfield as much as it tells a story about the characters. The kids teaming up to take on the rival town is fun. The idea that Shelbyville is full of doppelganger Springfield characters is neat. And it also has one of my favorite lines to say in day-to-day life, as I said before, Team Discovery Channel.
It's the greatest. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, Deuce Months is my friend.
Well, we got 2 episodes down. Robin.
That's it.
Do you hear that sound?
What's that, Josh?
Well, then you know what time it is. It's the Krusty
Brand Seal of
Approval.
Yay!
So this is when Robin and I will give our 1 to 5 Krusty Brand Seals of Approval for our episodes today. Robin, what are your scores for You Only Move Twice?
100% of 5.
Yep.
This is 5.5 Krusty Brand Seals of Approval. It is one of the best episodes of this show and one of the best television episodes ever written, in my opinion.
I completely agree. 5 is all around. And same with Lemon of Troy. I'm giving it a 5. What's your score?
So because of my love for the Homer forward Simpsons, it's a bit less for me. I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
it's so tightly written. Um, there's no fault in either of these episodes. They're extraordinary. I'm trying to reserve 5s for the just absolute ones that are my personal little favorites.
Yeah,
In
and
the echelon, as I say.
to beat the dead horse, as I said before, anything between 6, 7, and 8, I'm probably going to give a 5. I would be really shocked if we find an episode that isn't a 5 for me.
A stinker.
Yeah, not even a stinker, just like not as great.
The writing is so tight in both of these episodes.
The Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan, the Luke Robitaille to the Wayne Gretzky, that kind of
and
thing.
And these writers talk about this all the time, and they're wonderful comics now, a lot of them, and they had a blast doing this, and they worked their ass off. They were having so much fun doing this.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah. Like I said, folks, this was a banger of the episodes. We are going to try to make it so like our 5 and 10s are extra special, just to have something for people to look forward to. And I'm not going to spoil things now, but we are really trying to get episode 10 to be something special. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, that's a wrap for Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're feeling generous, then please leave a 5-star review with a few sentences. We are currently on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. I'd like to thank the following people. And again, I'm making this all family members this time. So I'm going to start with my sister Tessa and Sam. Please stay rad, and I love you, and I hope we continue to have an excellent relationship until we're old and gray. I also want to shout out my mother, Lori, and my late father, John, 2 of the most amazing parents, in my opinion, in town. Also, my godmother, Grace, who's like a second mom to me, and some of the raddest aunts around, Aunt Barbara and Eileen. I have a kick-ass family, and I really do love them, and I thank you all for the support that you guys have shown me while I'm doing these creative endeavors, especially those family members who are not in The Simpsons but are still listening and giving me feedback. And also, of course, Dr. Moxford, the raddest fan of them all.
The Doctor.
You want to hear more from your old pal Snerts? Then check out the PlayStation Experience on your podcast platform of choice. I can also be found on most things with Lord_Snerts. Robin, do you have any outros or plugs?
I will absolutely thank my family as well. It's a massive, important part to me. My father also recently passed away, as you know, Josh, and I'm very grateful for what they built in our family. We love each other and love to be together, and I'm with my brother and sister-in-law and my nephew, who's 17. He's going off to his first job. He's going to be staff at this camp here in North Carolina.
Oh, awesome.
If you meet Lawrence there, you tell him I said hi. He's one of my favorite human beings in the entire world. He's my godson also, and we're very close. And he loves this idea, and he's inspired to create his own podcast off of this. And
well, I hope he gets more than 3
listeners.
I hope he gets more than 3 listeners.
But listen, we need everybody that's listening. We need you to subscribe and listen. So if we get to 100 subscribers, Josh has said he's going to get a tattoo.
That is completely false. This was
and
not discussed.
So let's shoot for that, everybody.
Are you talking about this with Carol, our fired agent?
Sorry.
Was this, did you discuss this with Carol, who's now going to get fired for sure? Not only does she give us terrible sponsors, she gives us terrible ideas.
She's terrible. I mean, look, we love her. I love her, but she's just terrible. She has to go. But give a shout out to the rest of my family. Moved back to Atlanta to be close to my family, and all my siblings are in town for the first time ever in our lives. My oldest sister, Courtney, my brother, Simon, and his wife and 2 beautiful children, and my brother, Oliver, and his partner, Ryan. And we're here in Nashville with my wonderful side family, my cousins I'm not actually related to here. The Myers is here in North Carolina, and just couldn't be more thrilled to be here on the long weekend, enjoying the sun.
Yeah, for a little bit of behind the scenes, we are recording this on Memorial Day weekend, so it's great that you're able to gather with family on that. I am also looking forward to going out to the Valley tomorrow to see my Valley friends for a nice pool party.
I've been to one of those parties. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks. Well, our goal is to get the next episode out on Sunday, June 23rd. Robin's pick is Cape Fear, and I pick Krusty Gets Busted. That's right, folks. It's Sideshow Bob time. So,
yes.
Until next time, folks. Smell you later, true believers.
I can't believe it. Please goodbye.